G'day, Cam here, recording from the shed again. Apologies in advance if a kookaburra kicks off halfway through. Today I want to have a crack at a phrase you've seen on just about every job site, every induction slide deck, every high-vis shirt. Safety first. On the surface, it sounds spot on. Who's going to argue with it? But if safety first actually worked the way the posters suggest, we wouldn't still be seeing serious injuries, fatalities, process safety blow-ups, all that heavy stuff. The stickers and banners are everywhere, and yet the big events still happen. So clearly, it's not the slogan that decides how work really gets done. Here's the thing that bothers me. Language quietly tells people what matters. When we say first, we're admitting there's a list. Safety first, then production, cost, schedule, client happiness, whatever else you've got on your whiteboard. And when the pressure comes on, the job's late, the client's calling, the plant's backing up, that neat list turns into a bit of a dog's breakfast. No one's standing on a scaffold or in a control room going, you know what, I choose unsafe today. That's not how it plays out. People adapt. They work around things that don't fit. They bend a rule that looks over the top for the situation they're in. They skip a step because the tool's missing again, or the permit process is clunky, or they're 2 people down on the crew. In that moment, in their head, what they're doing feels reasonable. That's a big idea from modern safety thinking. People's actions make sense to them at the time, given the goals, the pressure, and the gear they've actually got in front of them. They're not cowboys or villains. Most of the time, they're problem solvers, trying to keep the wheels turning. Let me paint you a picture. Generic construction site. Big pour booked in. Pump truck on hire, concrete trucks queued down the road, crane time locked in. There's a tight weather window, of course. The rebar crew's slipped. There's a section where the edge protection isn't quite there yet. Everyone can see it's not ideal. The supervisor's doing the maths in their head. Cost of cancelling the pour, schedule hit, liquidated damages, getting chewed out on Monday. They're hearing, don't you dare blow this pour, even if no one says it out loud. So the line becomes, we'll just keep away from that edge. We'll be careful. We've done it like this before. On paper, the rule is clear as day. No pour until critical controls, like that edge protection, are in. In reality, all those commercial and schedule pressures have shifted what feels reasonable. In the induction, it was safety first. Right now, it's don't waste the concrete and don't stuff the program. If you're a supervisor or a manager, have a think about your own world. When things get tight, what really decides the next move? Is it the poster on the crib room wall? Or the contract, the KPIs, the staffing level, the bonus scheme, and all those unspoken expectations? This is why safety first bugs me. It makes it sound like safety is a personal choice at the front line. If they just put safety first, we'd be fine. But most of the time, that choice was shaped way upstream, in planning, in resourcing, in how success is measured. So instead of, why didn't they put safety first? A better question is, what in our system made this risky move look like a good or at least acceptable option? That's where methods like ICAM and systems thinking come in. They help us see all those pressures and conditions that sit behind the moment. Let's get into that. All right, let's talk ICAM and this idea of systems thinking without turning it into a dry textbook session. ICAM's an investigation method, yeah, but underneath the boxes and arrows, it's built on one belief. Incidents are created by systems, not just by one person having a shocker of a day. A lot of traditional investigations kind of tap out early. You see findings like human error, failure to follow procedure, complacency. Then the fixes. Reissue the procedure. Run another toolbox. Maybe send someone on a refresher. Tick, tick, move on. Until the next one that looks weirdly similar. When we stop at unsafe act, we basically park the problem inside that person. Once you've decided it was Bob, there's nowhere else to look. Learning shuts down. ICAM pushes past that. It says, okay, Bob did that thing. Now, what in the system made that possible or even likely? Let's go back to that pour. Say it goes bad. A worker slips near the edge, there's a serious fall. Life changes in a second. Old school investigation might say, worker failed to maintain 3 points of contact, or supervisor failed to enforce barricade requirement. Bang! Human error plus supervision failure. Case closed. With an ICAM lens, the questions change. Why were we pouring with incomplete edge protection at all? What contractual or program decisions cranked up that time pressure? How did our planning process sign off a job where a critical control depended on, we'll just be careful? We dig into organisational factors. Did the commercial terms punish delay harder than they punished taking risk? Were there enough competent supervisors to push back? What messages had leaders been sending? Take the time to do it safely, while also, don't you dare slip the milestone. Then task factors. Was the procedure realistic for how pours actually run, or written for some perfect blue sky day with infinite resources? Did we have a simple, face-saving way to stop the job when a critical control wasn't in, or did stop feel like career suicide? And we'd look at drift. Not one big, crazy decision, but lots of tiny slides. A workaround that used to be rare becomes normal. Bit by bit, the gap between how the system says we work and how we actually work opens up. That gap is where risk quietly grows. If you're in leadership, be honest with yourself. Do you only see that gap after something bites you? Or do you have ways of hearing about it early? Workers saying, this control looks good on paper, but it doesn't fit the real job we're doing out there. Another trap ICAM helps us avoid is mixing up compliance with capability. We tell ourselves, there's a procedure, there was a briefing, so they could do it that way. But maybe the right tools weren't on site. Maybe you needed 4 people and you rostered 3. Maybe the training covered theory, but never matched the messy variations the crew actually faces. ICAM is about connecting those dots. Not to excuse everything that happens, but to understand how the system set the stage. Once you see that, you can change something meaningful. Contracts, resourcing, planning, supervision. Instead of just telling people to try harder or pay more attention next time. And that's where we start to move from safety first slogans to safety always in how work's actually designed. So where does that leave safety first? For me, the better phrase is safety always. And I don't mean we just swap the poster and keep doing the same stuff. I mean we see safety differently. Safety isn't a priority that floats up and down a list depending on the week. It's an outcome. It's what you get when work is designed, resourced, and led in a way that keeps people inside a safe envelope even when things wobble. Because they always wobble. Something will be late. Something will break. Someone will be tired. The system has to expect that. In more mature organizations, and I don't mean perfect unicorns, just places trying to think in systems, you see a few different habits show up. First one, they deal with trade-offs upstream. They don't leave the night shift supervisor alone at 3 a.m. choosing between hitting the target or following a control that will blow the schedule. In planning, they ask, can we actually do this job safely with the time, tools, and people we've given it? If the answer's no, they adjust the plan, not just the pep talk. Second, they listen for weak signals, near misses, close calls, workarounds, stuff that nearly went wrong. That's gold. Not as chances to belt someone for breaking a rule, but as early warning that the system is drifting away from how it was designed to work. If you're a manager, check your gut reaction when someone walks in and says, "We had a near miss today." Are they bracing for a serve? Or do they feel like they're helping make the job safer for the next crew? That one moment tells you a lot about whether people will share those weak signals or bury them. Third, they protect learning from blame. That doesn't mean anything goes. Deliberate sabotage or gross negligence is a different beast. But for the vast majority of incidents, they start from, this made sense to someone at the time, in that context. Let's figure out why. Instead of, who do we pin this on? In that kind of environment, ICAM isn't just a form you pull out after a big one. It's almost a mindset. Which conditions, which controls, which decisions shaped this outcome? How does work really get done here? Not just how the procedure says it should. So, some practical takeaways before I let you get back to your day. If you're a leader, next time you're tempted to say, safety first, pause and ask your team, out here, when does it feel like something else comes first? Then just listen. Don't argue, don't fix it straight away. You'll hear system issues, not just bad attitudes. If you're a supervisor or an investigator, anytime you write human error or did not follow procedure, treat that as the start, not the end. Add the words, which made sense because, and see what that uncovers about your planning, resourcing, and leadership. And for everyone, have a quiet think about this. If safety at your site depends on workers making the perfect decision every single time, under pressure, with patchy info and tight deadlines, the system's already failed. People should be the last line of defense, not the only line. Safety always means we build systems that assume people will be human. They'll get tired, they'll make slips, they'll improvise. And we design work so those very human moments don't turn into disasters. All right, I'll park it there before I start sounding like I'm preaching from the back of the ute. Thanks for sticking with me. Keep asking not who stuffed up, but how did our system make this outcome possible? We'll keep unpacking that in future episodes. Catch you next time.